Hands off. My enemy Simon stood in front of me. I couldn't help but touch him, which made him beg for mercy in a low voice. I've developed a taste for sneakily peeking at sexy male bloggers. But every time, I get caught red-handed by my enemy. Grinding his teeth, he pushed me under the shower head. Is my figure not good? Molly, please, only look at me. What's going on? I was taking a shower in the bathroom when suddenly the water stopped. I asked aloud to the air. From outside the bathroom, Lily shouted, "The water pipe downstairs has been broken again." The school was just preparing for repairs, and the water supply is estimated to be back tomorrow. Molly, are you done washing? I rubbed the shampoo foam from my eyes and shivered. Not yet. I wiped my face with a towel, quickly put on a robe to avoid freezing to death. With the half-dry foam sticking to my body and making my clothes feel sticky, I frowned, quickly finished wiping myself, and opened the bathroom door. I'm going to the hot water room. As I opened the dormitory door, my roommate Susan, who had just finished training, untied her scarf and hung it on the hanger. The hot water supply connected to our pipes has also stopped. She, who is usually quiet in the dorm, took out a card from her pocket and handed it to me. There's hot water in the gym, use my card to get in, just don't let anyone find out. I took the card and quickly packed my basket. Susan looked at me, said only to dress warmly, it's cold outside, and stuffed the scarf into my arms before putting on her headphones. Thanks. On the campus at 9 p.m. With a biting northwest wind blowing, there were only a few students running back to the dormitory on the road. I wrapped my coat tightly around me. Thanks to Susan's scarf, the wind didn't creep into my clothes from the collar. The gym was not far away, so I sneaked in and quickly found the women's locker room. I pulled the door handle with my hand, but it didn't move. I closed my eyes, pushed again, and confirmed that the door was locked. I was about to go back to the dorm and make do for the night. The half-open door of the men's locker room attracted me, so I gently pushed it open. The quiet locker room, I tiptoed in and closed the door. The hot water washed away the foam from my body, and I picked up the pace, dried my hair quickly, and took out a towel from the basket to wrap around myself. While drying my hair, the steam on my body was also wiped away. I opened the door of the cubicle, put on my coat, and applied skincare products to my face. Suddenly, the farthest cubicle was opened from inside. Before I could react, I saw a man walking out of the cubicle, with his upper body naked. With wet hair, plump red lips, fair skin, and evenly arranged 8-pack abs, and the slender blue veins on his lower abdomen bulging, disappearing into the white towel like a stream. He took a momentary pause in his forward step, and the part of the towel tucked into the corner of the cubicle. In the moment when the soap bubble burst in the air, cleanly leaped out of the restraint, I covered my cheek with my hand, leaving my eyes wide open. At 21 years old, it was the first time I had seen an adult man's body, and in such an awkward situation. I swallowed hard. Couldn't react for a while. With a dark face, the man spoke in a low, dissatisfied tone, echoing in the locker room, "Molly, seen enough? How could I get enough of this gorgeous body?" I slowly raised my hand to cover my eyes, but ended up amplifying my voice. What are you doing here?" In the awkward airflow, neither of us spoke for a long time. I accidentally said the wrong thing, so I had to change my words halfway. "Simon, why haven't you gone back at this late hour?" With a low sneer, accompanied by a rush of heat. "Molly, wipe your mouth. If you're so unwilling to cover it and your fingers are so wide open, you might as well look openly." I opened my eyes and looked. Indeed, I could see Simon's entire body through the gap in my fingers. Mocked by him, I simply put down my hand and stared at him brazenly. "What are you looking at? From childhood to now, what haven't you seen of mine? When we were kids, we even bathed together in the same tub. My mom even gave you my little rubber duck, and I never argued with you about it. Now, you can't even look at me for a moment." I pursed my lips, looking at him displeased. Not giving up on staring at Simon's 8-pack abs. "You're so petty." Simon was stunned by my words, but then seemed to be amused by anger. With a heavy frown, he lowered his voice. "Molly, stop messing around, no joking around. Why aren't you in the dorm showering in the middle of the night? What are you doing in the men's locker room? Don't you know how many athletes come in and out of here, often leaving the door wide open? You're a grown-up now, don't you have any sense of safety? What would you do if something happened?" Simon scolded me harshly. I felt wronged, lowered my head, and stared blankly at the ground, my mind wandering off. From childhood, every time Simon scolded me, I would feel sleepy. His nagging was like a remedy for insomnia. "Molly, are you even listening?" Simon seemed genuinely angry this time, and his tone was chilling. I couldn't control my yawn, tears welling up in my eyes. When I looked up, I saw Simon with a stern face, his entire demeanor serious. In the moment of eye contact, I saw a hint of panic in his face. The dorm building had no water, so I was halfway through washing and had no hot water. My roommate kindly let me come over. I didn't hear any sound, that's why I came in. I didn't know I would run into you. Why scold me? If I knew, I would never come to the gym. Simon's tone softened. "I wasn't scolding you. Forget it, it's my fault." He raised his hand and gently wiped away the tears at the corner of my eye. Simon, due to his regular exercise and frequent swimming, had calluses on his fingertips, softened by pool water. The touch of his fingertips on my cheek made me want to step back. But he bent down, whispering in my ear, "Molly, I was wrong. Forgive me, okay?" I punched him in the stomach, forcing him to step back. Simon has always taken verbal advantage of me since we were kids, never willing to yield. In fact, Simon is only half a year older than me but mentally much more immature. He always puts on a facade of gentleness, courtesy, and academic excellence in front of our families. Only I know how wicked he truly is underneath that beautiful mask. I've always wanted to expose his true self, but I've never succeeded. Simon sighed and took out a pink hairdryer from the cabinet, blowing my wet hair with it. After a few minutes, feeling that my hair was half dry, I was about to get up but was pushed back onto the chair by him. "Are you trying to get a headache again?" "I don't like blow drying my hair, but I have to. I am lazy to dry it completely. Every time it's half dry, I lie down and go to sleep. Over time, every time the weather changes and the temperature drops, I get a headache. The recent time I went to the hospital, I just finished taking the prescribed medicine." Knowing I was in the wrong, I sat there and let him blow dry my hair. I don't tire my hands, and I'm happy to relax. The warm air from the hairdryer on my scalp, I watched in the mirror as Simon's fingers intertwined with my strands of black hair, the black hair entwining around his fair fingertips, emitting a soft beauty. After blow drying my hair, I stuffed the towel into the basket and heard footsteps approaching. Startled, I grabbed the basket and hid behind Simon. Simon pulled me close and locked the door to the compartment. At that moment, the door to the men's bath was pushed open, and the footsteps abruptly stopped. A girl's voice, sounding sweet and affectionate, made me shiver. "Simon, are you there?" Just a wall away, Simon and I stood at the door, listening to the girl's calls. Simon's expression seemed uneasy, and as I looked up at the young man in front of me, he was casually draped in a towel, water still dripping from his hair. His skin was fair, his features well-defined, with thick eyebrows above deep-set eyes, a high bridge on his nose, and full lips. It reminded me of an online adjective, handsome guy with strong features. Water droplets from his hair traced down his jawline, and I followed, my gaze fixed on Simon's Adam's apple. It was so prominent that it made me curious. When did Simon, still a kid, develop an Adam's apple? Without thinking, I raised my hand and poked his Adam's apple, but before I could draw back, Simon grabbed my hand and pressed it against his neck firmly. Simon cleared his throat, and his Adam's apple moved rapidly, tingling my fingertips. I looked at him, his lips pressed tightly together, corners slightly downturned, his eyes seeming to reveal some uncontrollable emotion. "Simon?" With no response from the girl outside, her voice lowered in a mutter. "Did he leave already? Why did he leave so early today? This isn't right." She dialed his phone from outside, the screen lit up, but Simon didn't take his eyes off me. After a few missed calls, the girl lost her patience and dialed someone else, sounding frustrated, possibly complaining about misinformation. Watching Simon, I felt a bitter sensation in my heart. So, I silently asked him, "Aren't you going out?" He smiled, glanced at me from head to toe, and mouthed back, "If we go out, how do we explain being naked in the men's bath in the middle of the night? Having an affair?" I got angry and slapped Simon this time. He didn't hold back, pulled me closer, bringing us near. Instinctively, I placed my hands on his chest. His young body, every inch of skin firm, his heart beating rapidly under his chest, as if it wanted to burst out. "Simon." The man's voice above me husky to the extreme. Placing my hand on his chest, observing the slight tremor at my fingertips, I lowered my voice and asked him, "Your heart seems abnormal, Simon. Your heartbeat is too fast. Are you feeling unwell?" Heart issues are no small matter, and Simon, always downplaying his illnesses since childhood. Whenever family found out, he either had a high fever that wouldn't go down or had already fainted. I feared he might be concealing something. "Molly, I'm very healthy. I'm a college student with strong physical fitness. Since my body's fine and my figure's this good, why worry?" Gradually, my hand moved downward, resting on his well-defined abs, tracing each piece of land on his toned stomach with precision, like organized terrain. The man above me began breathing heavily. His abdominal muscles tensed at once. Simon's hand around my waist moved slightly. Through the fabric between us, it felt like flames spreading to every corner, making my skin hot. "Simon. The dorm building seems to be closed." He chuckled softly, "There's no way. Today, you won't be able to go back. Want to sleep at my place?" Simon led me outside the campus. "Wait." I lowered my head, slightly stunned looking at my phone screen, then raised my head to see a black car parked in front of me. As the car window rolled down, Simon teasingly raised an eyebrow at me, saying, "Molly, get in the car." Out of habit, I opened the back door to get in, and he scoffed from behind, displeased. "Seriously, treating me like a chauffeur?" Ignoring his nagging, I resignedly sat in the passenger seat, but deep down, I was not happy. "So, you got your license?" I heard in summer break that Simon was taking the driving test, so I rushed home to get my mom to register me. Unfortunately, I only got halfway through the test. Thought Simon hadn't gotten his license yet and was planning to try harder over winter break. Who knew he was already driving? And now what? I was being scolded internally. Part of me was upset since I couldn't match Simon's pace, not even in getting a driver's license. I thought to myself, even if I got my license, my mom wouldn't buy me a car. I was too late for that. Arriving there, "Follow me." I've never heard about Simon having a house outside of campus. So, when he drove the car into the residential area, I thought he was visiting a friend. It wasn't until he opened the door with the key that I asked, "Is this the house you rented?" He hung the keys behind the door, but as my hand loosened, the phone slipped and hit my foot, causing some pain. Grimacing, I felt a chill in my heart. Buying a car was understandable, but at this age, Simon already owned a house? I made some small investments, chose this neighborhood, renovated a year ago and just moved in. He recounted calmly, as if buying a house was an ordinary affair. I knew Simon received a lot of Chinese New Year money and scholarships every year. "So, you have money." Normally, my mom gives me limited pocket money. Whenever I like those star-endorsed products, I always ask Simon to buy them for me. Every year on my birthday, I spend a big chunk of his money. I never thought he had savings. "Molly, don't underestimate me. I have a lot of savings, not just this house, but also a bridal house." I kept my mouth open for a while. I always thought that marriage was a bit far off for us. "Do you have a crush?" Simon pulled out pajamas from the closet for me, the warm orange light shining into the living room. I sat on the sofa, clutching the carpet, looking at my feet in white powder blue bunny slippers, feeling a strange hint of bitterness in my heart. Why is Simon always one step ahead in love? Why, are you bothered? Not at all. After this little commotion, Simon said he was sweating and went into the bathroom to take a shower. I didn't say a word, grabbed the lady's pajamas with the tag still on them, and hurriedly fled into the bedroom. He showered quickly, and I reluctantly went to the kitchen to drink water. Subconsciously avoiding looking at him drying his hair, I opened the refrigerator, but someone grabbed me from behind. Drinking cold water late at night, planning to go to the hospital in the middle of the night? Simon handed me a cup of warm water. Don't be greedy for cold. Simon, you really are like a housekeeper. Always managing this and that. Who else have I managed besides you? As soon as he spoke, my cheeks felt slightly warm, and he also blushed awkwardly. An awkward and ambiguous atmosphere quickly spread between us. I hurried back to the room, but my slippery shoes suddenly slipped, and I fell backward. Simon grabbed my wrist and pulled me towards him, spinning me around until I was in front of the kitchen counter. We looked at each other, both of us frozen in place. Simon with smooth hair, he's still very handsome. Jet black hair and pink lips, even I, as a girl, envy his fair skin. I looked down, Simon's lips slightly parted, suddenly leaning down. Stopping by my ear, I shuddered, feeling the warm, wet touch of his lips on my ear, his voice deep. Molly, I have someone I like. How about you tell me, who is it? Trying to pull back, he cupped my neck, forcing me to look up at him. Because of the accidental touch just now, my ears were quickly burning, almost hurting, but the next moment, Simon smiled, his chest vibrating. Through the thin fabric, I could feel his pounding heartbeat. Molly, look at me. He suddenly leaned in and placed a light kiss on my cheek. Simon's eyes sparkled, his pupils filled with shimmering stars, with strands of desire, blushing from his face to his shoulders. Looking at me, touching my hair, he pulled me into his arms. He swam regularly, the strength of his arms making it difficult for me to break free. After pausing for a while, I almost fled. Back in the bedroom, I exhaled deeply. I buried my face in the pillow, silently screaming. Then I turned over, grabbed my phone, and looked at the messages in the dorm group. Except for Susan's initial concern in the group, everyone else was gossiping about the progress between me and Simon. I used to boldly accuse them of talking nonsense, repeatedly stating that Simon and I had a mutual dislike cultivated since childhood. Enemies from the moment they met, how could there be any romantic feelings? Now I dare not say a word. Who knows, that guy Simon might suddenly change and even kiss me. Remembering his question, does he like me? Touching my cheek, my mind kept replaying the light kiss, a strange feeling quietly taking root in my heart. That night was really chaotic. By the end, I still couldn't figure out my feelings for Simon. But I know, I don't dislike him. Not only do I not dislike him, I feel a flutter. The next morning, I saw Simon busy in the kitchen wearing an apron. Rolling up his sleeves, the veins on his arms slightly bulged with every chopping motion, making me swallow hard. He brought out a few plates with pan-fried buns and freshly made soy milk. Try it. I had never seen Simon in the kitchen before, so seeing him cook was as surprising as seeing an alien. The taste was very good. I should say it was delicious. I nibbled on the buns while replying to my roommate's messages. Are you going back to school today? I nodded. Yes, there's an activity in the club, need to coordinate with the planning team. Simon didn't say anything further. My roommate pulled me into a club work group. This activity was initiated by me. There were senior students in higher grades, all co-founders of this charity event, and we participated to contribute our efforts during the event. Simon, do you have old clothes? He hesitated with chopsticks, went to the room, and brought a basket of clothes. Aren't these all new? The clothes still had tags on them, and the creases from just being taken out of the packaging were still visible, not looking worn. We are making nests for stray animals, we don't need new clothes. Putting old cotton clothes in the nest can help them stay warm this winter. Stray animals find it hard to survive the winter. We are psychology majors, and many of us are participating in the activity. Students from other majors can also donate old clothes, showing a little love. After Simon dropped me off at school, he drove away without stopping. As soon as I entered the classroom for the activity sent by my roommate, I heard a girl laughing on her seat. She wants everything, thinking the club is a garbage dump. How does Molly handle things? The classroom with steps was filled with students attending the activity. Upon hearing her words, the chatting and discussions halted abruptly. Some observant freshmen saw me and even gave secret signals behind the back of the girl. But she was too engrossed in her speech and didn't notice anyone else. I stood at the doorway, feeling a tap on my shoulder from behind. The new students in the classroom also stood up to greet me. I saw that the person who came was Sam from the same major, and I greeted him as well. Although usually very gentle and kind, he had no smile on his face at the moment. He held a planning document for the activity and walked to the podium, placing it heavily on the table. I sat down on my seat. The girl seemed to have noticed me, showing no sign of embarrassment, just rolling her eyes and sitting down. Sam adjusted his glasses. This time, we have informed all the club members that everything is based on voluntary participation. There is no unfairness or coercion within the club. If there are any doubts, you can directly bring evidence to the association for reporting. Feel free to supervise the club's activities at any time. His gaze swept around and landed on me, with a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. As for taking leave within the club, we have made it clear in the club's requirements. Currently, we haven't found any members absent without reason, and the attendance sheets are also open and transparent. Secondly, as adults, respecting others is also giving oneself dignity. Amy, what do you think? The girl who was talking bad about me behind my back turned red in the face. Everyone knows about Molly's good relationship with you guys, but that's not a reason to cover up for her. Tears suddenly welled up in her eyes and she said with a sobbing voice, Simon, she acts friendly with you in public, but behind your back, she's not a good person at all. My patience had already reached its limit. I stood up and walked over to her, smiling lightly. Being unfaithful? Then tell me, who am I being ambiguous with and who am I behaving inappropriately with? She looked at me, daring to retort, her lips moving. Anyway, you're just in the wrong. You're unclear with Sam, and living with Simon, you're just playing both sides. I looked at her, understanding in my heart. Judging by her attitude towards Sam, it didn't seem like admiration. That leaves Simon. This Amy, she likes Simon, and today for no reason, targeted me because of Simon. I straightforwardly asked, do you like Simon? For a moment, the classroom fell silent, everyone looking at Susan, her cheeks gradually turning red, her expression also becoming somewhat flustered. Molly. It wasn't until a boy spoke behind me that everyone's gaze shifted away. Amy seemed more exhilarated. Simon, why are you here? Are you here for the event? I can take you there, you just need to fill out the form with me. Instead, Simon walked towards me, the orange-yellow afternoon sun shining through the treetops, casting our elongated shadows overlapping on the ground. Molly, the event isn't over yet? Mom asked us to go home for dinner. Simon just stood there looking at me. I hadn't finished my task for the event, half an hour should be enough. Simon brought many blankets and pet food from the pet store, all delivered to the building below the classroom. It was our donation to the club's activity. Turns out, when he left just now, he went to buy these things. The throbbing seed in my heart felt like it was about to sprout under a warm moment of sunlight. I had already scouted out all suitable locations in school to set up shelters for stray animals, even marking them. Both the wooden houses and insulation boards were ready. The small area I was allocated wasn't too big, so it shouldn't take too long. Let's go. After saying hi to Sam, he gestured for us to wait. Today, with everyone present, me and Molly, we were good friends and there wasn't any ambiguity or shady relationship as Amy described. Rumors stop with the wise. As girls, you should understand better how harmful these false rumors can be to girls. I hope everyone can be more sensible. I sincerely thanked Sam. Then I looked at Amy, not in the best tone. You owe me an apology. Amy, upon hearing my words, suddenly shed a few tears. She pitifully looked at Simon, as if greatly wronged, reluctantly said, Simon, I'm just afraid you're being emotionally manipulated. After all, you're so outstanding, and she doesn't deserve you. You deserve someone better, not this aggressive girl. I examined Amy. She seemed very hopeful for Simon's comfort. Looking at the increasingly cold weather outside, I was more concerned about those homeless cats and dogs, not wanting to stay any longer, so I tugged at Simon's sleeve. Let's go. Amy must have been triggered again, cried out. Every expression on her face seemed practiced in advance, even crying didn't affect her makeup, her voice cooing, Simon, I like you. As the outdoor temperature dropped with the setting sun, the classmates in the club were divided into groups, carrying toolbox, installing animal shelters around the campus. The blankets and food brought by Simon were a great help. Come here. He took off his scarf and wrapped it around my neck. The warm feeling made me unable to help but squint and smile. Simon, why didn't I realize you were so considerate before? After nailing it down and testing the stability with his hands, he put the blankets inside and heard a meow as a little cat jumped out of the bushes. It jumped and frolicked and then suddenly tumbled. The kitten rolled over to Simon's feet, lying on its back showing its furry belly, its tiny paws resting on his pants leg, meowing persistently, such a clingy one. Simon crouched down, petting the kitten which purred contentedly. After finishing up in the animal room, we both realized the kitten was bouncing around due to a deep wound on its legs, most likely snagged by a nail. I touched the kitten with aching heart, unwilling to leave it like that. Simon, I want to take it to the hospital. After finishing up the final touches in the animal room, Simon wrapped the kitten in the blanket and we took it to the pet hospital together. 1 month old, weighing 1 pound, severely malnourished with an exposed wound on its hind leg. The vet treated the wound and started in 4, instructing us to come back the next day. In general, it should recover in 3 or 4 days, and then you can take it away for careful care. The nurse led us to register the information. When it came to naming the kitten, I glanced at Simon during the ride to the hospital. It was already late, and now snowflakes were floating down. His long eyelashes drooped, seeming to have caught some mist. Eyes so gentle that one couldn't help but want to drown in them. Snowy, can we call it Snowy? Simon repeated after me and wrote down the name with a pen. After I left the hospital, I remembered what the doctor said about taking Snowy with me, and I found it difficult. Snowy was still very young and being left outside in the cold could be dangerous, even if there was cat food available. My family had never had a pet before because my mom was allergic to animal fur. Molly and I decided to adopt Snowy and bring her home. Snowflakes were swirling in the air as I looked at my white down jacket, wrapped in a gray scarf around my neck. Simon, wearing a thin black coat, seemed a bit underdressed. I unwound the scarf. You should wear it, you might catch a cold. Despite him insisting that I wear it, my good health and the car's air conditioning meant it wasn't particularly cold, so I sat politely in the front seat. This time there was a layer of mist on the car window, but I wiped it with my finger to see the snowflakes outside, falling thicker and thicker, creating a white blanket on the ground and tree branches. Simon turned on the radio, looking in a good mood. A gentle female voice on the radio read an anonymous submission about unrequited love and played a song. We both remained silent, listening quietly. When the car stopped outside the school, Simon insisted on walking me back to the dorm. There weren't many students around the campus in winter, with most staying inside warm dorms, except the library where some students were hurriedly returning after seeing the snowfall. Before Simon left the car, he took out a pair of his own gloves from the trunk and put them on my hands. The gloves were too big, leaving a large empty space inside. Looking quite comical, Simon and I walked side by side. The campus pathway was lit by spaced-out lampposts, casting umbrella-shaped orange-yellow shadows. I looked up and saw the snowflakes falling under the lights. As we walked on the snow, our footsteps made a creaking sound. Just before going upstairs, Simon suddenly touched his nose. I'm cold, can you put the scarf on me? I promptly took off my scarf and wrapped it around his neck. His nose twitched, and his ears turned red. I couldn't resist poking at them. Simon, are your ears cold too? They're all red. I don't remember how I got upstairs. Back at the dorm, Lily and Susan were there. Lily, full of gossip, and Susan looking a bit strange. Molly, I saw Simon from the swimming team walking you back. Lily and Susan seemed intrigued, so I handed them the small cakes Simon had bought on the way back. Lily scrolled through her phone and showed me the school forum. "Your club had an incident today? How did you know?" I took the phone, seeing an account claiming to be from inside the club. Someone was spreading rumors about a member of the psychology department cheating on a senior and a classmate, belittling the girl from the psychology department. The details matched the club, but the words were twisted. Sensationalized to satisfy people's curiosity. However, the classmates who commented seemed united, even revealing their club IDs, unpacking the true story. There were even sneakily taken photos. In a large picture, there was Simon's half face and my back view. Amy's eyes were filled with hatred, holding a crumpled paper. The comments varied. Putting on a show, Susan turned around, apologizing remorsefully. "I'm sorry, Molly. It's my sister's fault." I interrupted Susan's apology. It wasn't her fault, even if it was her literal sister. It's no reason to bear her mistakes. I clarified everything in class today. There's no room for misunderstanding. Lily agreed with me. "Did Amy apologize to you today?" "No, but she lost face too, so it's even." Now, Susan and Lily were listening intently, pushing me to explain roughly. "So Simon didn't even give her face in front of so many people?" Lily exaggeratedly raised her thumb. "That's how I see it too." After Amy confessed her feelings for Simon, he didn't even spare her a glance, dismissing her with a few words, leaving her embarrassed. Simon said, "Who are you? Do I know you?" Amy was so embarrassed that she almost bit her tongue, rushing to explain where they had met, even romantically describing their first meeting at the school assembly. Amy treated their encounter as love at first sight, considering me as a rival for Simon's affection. Lily also couldn't believe it. Simon didn't even bother to look up. "I don't remember." Today, he appeared ordinary and confident, not really a person of good character. It's best not to like him. It's shameful if this spreads. Amy ended up running away in tears. I decided not to deal with the forum, as there were too many people present, and the topic had shifted. She was at a disadvantage now. I considered and asked, "Susan, your personality is completely different from Amy's." Amy was outgoing and enjoyed dressing up, while Susan always had a simple short haircut and seldom bought skincare products. Usually either training in the gym or working part-time off campus. Amy doesn't seem to be short of money. Susan is quiet, but works hard in the dorm and volleyball team. Volleyball training is notoriously tough, but Susan never misses a session. I love volleyball, so I work hard. Also, I need to be self-reliant and stay away from that kind of family. Thanks to volleyball, I was able to get into the university I wanted. When she was a child, her parents wanted a boy, but afraid of being known, she was sent to her grandparents at 6 months. Her parents tried all sorts of remedies and treatments, and finally had a sister, Amy. As she got older, they couldn't handle it anymore, and gave up on having a son. Amy has been living with her parents since she was born, with a sweet mouth and cute looks. The family thought she would marry into a wealthy family in the future. Susan was only brought back home after junior high, feeling estranged from her parents, introverted, and with Amy's instigation, naturally being criticized everywhere. At that time, my grades were average. Without volleyball, my family almost made me work after high school. I decided back then that once I got into college, I wouldn't take a penny from them. Lily and I found it unbelievable. No wonder Susan always applied to stay on campus during winter and summer vacations. It turns out she has a home she can't return to. I used to hate them, but not anymore. I used to hate them because deep down I still had some expectations for them, but now I don't feel anything, so where does the hate come from? I just want to be independent and live well. Since that day, Simon has been coming to see me often, either carrying a bag of breakfast or buying drinks for the whole dorm. He even sneaked in from the back door during class, sat next to me, and smirked at me. "Aren't you supposed to have training in the afternoon? Aren't you afraid the coach will scold you?" Simon's swimming coach is very strict. "Molly, do you care about me? If you care a lot, just say it, no need to keep quiet." The giggles of my roommates sitting behind me were heard by me. I glared at him in frustration. Of course not. He took out a few tickets from his bag and placed them in front of me, and also stuffed a large box of chocolates into my bag. Remember to come to the game on Saturday. The team is almost full. I'll leave first while the teacher is not looking. He crouched down and quietly slipped out of the classroom again as the teacher turned around. During the break, Lily and Susan came over. You guys can't resist talking even in class. I'm so envious. After opening up in the dormitory, Susan became much more cheerful, and now she teased me. So, are you two dating? I know that Simon likes Mehai didn't press for my answer. He's probably giving me time to think it through. After all, we've been friends for 20 years. Although I've always seen him as a rival deep down, he feels that he's excellent in everything just for me to notice and pay attention to him. Molly, these tickets are hard to come by. The school has only released a small number of tickets, as it is an official match of the Provincial University League, and those trading tickets on forums have pushed the price to over 1,000 each. I kept one for myself and handed the rest to them. Shall we go together? These two nodded with silly grins, insisting on treating me to bubble tea and pestering me to tell them a story about Simon and me. Just the typical story of neighbors and ordinary students. When I was in school, I only cared about disliking him. Without putting in any effort or being smart, he still wanted to compare everything with me. He felt I didn't tell the story well enough. What makes you feel attracted to him? When it comes to Simon, it's not just me. He's probably a nightmare in the hearts of kids in our neighborhood. People his age can't compete with him, and those younger than us can't match his performance either, so parents keep telling us to learn from him. Kids form cliques and everyone has their own group. In short, no one wants to hang out with Simon. But I'm different, we live next door. When I was younger and wanted to move, I argued with my parents for a while. After being sternly refused, I knew I couldn't avoid Simon's shadow, so I accepted it. It's just that Simon's parents have always been kind to me. Whatever nice clothes, shoes, cakes, or chocolates Simon has, he would get me a share too. Kindness can be persuasive. I happened to run into a few kids bullying Simon. In the park in late autumn, there was a big pond under the rockery, with a sandy area beside it, where there were slides and swings. Several kids, all older than Simon, especially the leader, portly, didn't seem like we could handle them. What are you guys doing? I watched from the side for a few minutes, seeing a few brats verbally abusing Simon. But Simon seemed to ignore them, squatting on the ground and looking at his airplane model. Seeing that insults didn't work on Simon, Portly got agitated and directly tried to snatch the airplane model from Simon's hands, even pushing him. Simon brushed the dirt off himself, said something, and then lifted his hand and threw something into the pond. Portly's face turned red. Sensing trouble, I shouted and rushed out, shielding Simon behind me. You guys can't bully him. While Portly muttered to himself, I felt anxious. But remembering Simon's thin arms and legs, he probably couldn't defend himself, so I didn't back down. You dare throw the remote controller, go pick it up. We were standing by the edge of the pond, and suddenly Portly pushed me. Simon grabbed my arm, and we both fell. I couldn't swim. I struggled for a while, inhaling a lot of water in my nose and mouth. Some kids at the shore were frightened too, and it wasn't until some adults passing by saw them crying that they pulled us out together. Simon could swim, but he also choked on water. You don't know that Simon, in order to save Molly, held on to that girl without letting go until he ran out of strength, and ended up inhaling water and being hospitalized. Simon was lighter than me and was discharged after a few days. His parents apologized to me multiple times in my hospital room, but my parents didn't say much. After all, Simon wasn't in the wrong. They just said that I had to learn how to swim after being discharged. I taught him. Simon's parents saw and quickly said that their son had won medals in swimming, so they would take care of my swimming lessons. Simon, just out of the hospital, looked pale every time he came and stood silently in the hospital room. After that, he came many times. Sometimes he brought me chocolate, sometimes comic books, and many airplane models. I didn't like airplanes. Simon frowned, looking at the airplane models that I rejected, and carefully put them back in the box. He loved airplanes so much, yet he didn't become a pilot but a swimmer. Molly, he didn't start swimming because of you, did he? On the day of the competition, I understood why tickets were hard to come by. College guys in swimsuits stood in a row, looking incredibly handsome. Who could resist that temptation? Even Susan couldn't help but stare. Suddenly, my phone made a ding sound. A message popped up. Molly, wipe the drool off your face. I'll be on in half an hour, and they don't have my physique. Close your eyes now. Just look at May. Rolled my eyes and continued to admire the handsome men. When Simon appeared, the cheers increased several times, and he easily won first place in the men's category. After all the participants received their awards, he messaged saying that we should have dinner together. We waited for him backstage for an interview. A few athletes in swimsuits walked past us, and our eyes followed them. Lily couldn't help but warn me, be careful of Simon's jealousy. I just watched those types of videos every day in the dorm, and he had no idea. What videos? I impulsively responded, no idea. Then a creepy male voice above me made me nervously laugh, and nothing. Molly, I just remembered we have something to do at school. We better go now. Lily dragged Susan, and they ran off. It left me and Simon staring at each other. I quickly changed the subject. Is the interview over? His dark expression softened a bit as he said, let's go eat. While my phone vibrated, I glanced at the message Lily was frantically shouting in the group chat. Molly, hurry and watch Simon's interview video. As Simon and I walked on the road, it was already late, so we decided to go straight to his house for the night. He opened the door, and I pressed play on the interview. Simon wore a gold medal around his neck, with a smile on his lips. The reason that kept me going until today is only one. Molly. If you can hear me, I want to say that I really like you. From my childhood to now, I only have one dream, to be your only knight. Please give me a chance. Let me be yours. As I turned my back to change my shoes, someone snatched my phone from behind and planted tender kisses on my neck, causing me to tremble uncontrollably. Outside the window were the lights of the city. Beside me was the one I longed for. He embraced me, softly kissing my ear. Molly, be my girlfriend. I won't let you see anyone else. Whatever you want to see, I have it. As consciousness returned to me, I heard myself giving in like a coquettish whisper, okay. Simon didn't know. He had been my knight since the moment he saved me from drowning. My only protector, my bravest knight.